Welcome to the pilot debut episode of One Up Pod, our new monthly podcast where we geek out for a bit about video games. This month, I, Bash, am your host, and I am joined by Becky.
Hello.
Chip.
Hello.
And Andy.
All right.
And we are talking about the somewhat revolutionary 2007 game, first-person shooter, role-playing game, survival horror, whatever you name it, it's all there. Bioshock.
Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find it? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
So before I do a quick overview of Bioshock, I'm going to say now, for the record, I haven't yet finished the game, but the...
What? This is new information. We didn't know this.
Fraud.
Lies. You knew this.
You're going to start calling them Blidio games.
Video babes. But I have got to the big twist. So it's fair to say that as we talk about Bioshock, spoilers abound, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it's like a 13, 14-year-old game, and it's been on, like, several platforms, and at least the last 2, if not 3 generations, so, of consoles.
But you know someone who will get angry at us, though, right? You know that would happen. We'll get some angry tweet. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe you spoiled the twist of Bioshock.
Yeah, but I feel like if, you want to play Bioshock, you should have played Bioshock by now. Like...
Except for Sasha.
Except for Sasha, yeah.
Thank you for that already. It starts already.
It begins.
Okay, so, overview. So, Bioshock takes place in 1960, and you are Jack, the sole survivor of a plane crash, who wakes up to find the entrance to a recluse underwater city of Rapture in the middle of the ocean. It's like this strange, horrifying dystopia that looks to be on the back end of a civil war. And you have a mysterious Irishman called Atlas helping you as you work your way through the various levels of Rapture, fighting the sort of mutated and monstrous denizens of the city? Underwater city, is it? World?
Yeah, it is a city, yeah.
It's all those things and more.
It's all those things and more. You have weapons, genetic enhancements, camera that's magic, I don't know. As you work your way through. And so, I mean, I guess makes sense to start discussing from the start of the game, maybe. And, talk about the immersive world of Rapture, which is the thing that really stood out to me.
But it's like one of the best openings to any game ever, right? Like, it's so simple in a way because you're literally just on a plane crash, you land in the ocean, you swim to a lighthouse, and you're off. But it just kicks you off in such a great way because you have this dramatic opening with the plane crash, and then you get sucked into Rapture straight away. And as soon as you enter that lighthouse, you just see the design of the world, the soundtrack kicks in, and... obviously I've played it before and I went back and replayed it before we started recording this, but I was just in it straight away. I was like, yes, I'm so excited to be back in Rapture. I played the remastered version as well, which I guess, helped enhance the graphics and stuff like that, but I was just so excited to be back.
Yeah, I think the lighthouse as well is such a great aesthetic moment because of the Art Deco design. Like, so obviously the game takes place in 1960, but Rapture itself was built in 1940, so you kind of go back to that kind of era almost immediately. You've got the Django Reinhardt playing Beyond the Sea, so there's kind of that, like, lyrical, slow opening to it, and then you get the no gods, only man, and it's like, ooh, we're in! And the actual descent with the bathysphere as well, which is the next bit. When you start to see, like, the neon lights of Rapture, it really does feel like one of those kind of momentous gaming occasions. I mean, it's certainly one of my favourites of all time.
I kind of want to know what that whale was thinking. Well, I can't imagine a whale understands why there's buildings under there.
Yeah, just swimming along, be like, oh, cool, that's a city. Okay.
It'd be used to it by now, wouldn't it? Like, it's been there quite a long time. It probably just like, yeah. I mean, it's like when you put a castle in a goldfish bowl, right? Same thing.
Yeah, but goldfish have really short memories, so do whales. Like, is the whale just constantly swimming past Rapture going, oh, look, a city. And then it comes sort of circles back round like, oh, look, a city.
I'm glad right at the start of this podcast we're getting straight into the nitty-gritty and the important questions about Bioshock.
Yeah. The whale
What
is
was
important.
the whale thinking?
I mean, just to be the one who's, pro whale conservation and likes them, it definitely would remember. They have very long memories. They remember stuff better than us. I'm just saying.
That ruins my joke, Sasha.
So by this point, they'd just be like bored of the rat race in
Yeah.
the city.
So instead of, oh, look, a city, it would be, no, there's a
This
city.
place again.
So it's like a commuter, basically.
Yeah, a commuter whale.
How did you feel, Sasha? Because obviously this is your first playthrough, so like, how did you feel in that intro? Because we're obviously replaying the old memories and playing the game again, so we knew it and we're coming back to it. But this was your first time, so how did you feel heading to Rapture? And ignoring all the whale stuff.
Do not ignore the whale stuff.
The whale is important.
I mean, forgetting about the whale for a second. And I agree, whales are important. When I said it's my first proper playthrough, as in attempting to play it all the way, but for some reason I was convinced I'd played it until I then played it now, and I think what happened is I played it back on the PlayStation 3 and then stopped playing and then was just convinced for the rest of, for a decade that I had played it. So I think that's actually what happened. So it's the second time I've done Rapture, and it's still, I think, in spite of the fact that over a decade that I've not played it, it's still a memory that really sticks out, you really remember it. The soundtrack is something that I've listened to throughout the years. It's really weird. It's like I recognize it without recognizing it, but it's so impressive. And maybe especially, like you say, now it's on the remastered version. I certainly can't remember well enough from PlayStation 3 to be able to compare.
Not like a whale would.
No, not like a whale would, no. I think you get an instant sense of time and place. I think that's the thing. And even though it's dystopian, you still get an instant sense of that as well.
And I think it's really obvious that it used to be a utopia. Like, you can see really clearly how it used to look and how pretty it must have been, especially places like Arcadia, like the Tea Garden. And I'm trying to think of the Fort Frolic with the theatre. Yeah. There's that real sense of the grandiose as you're walking around it. Like, just because it's decrepit now, you get the sense of what's been lost in that decay.
I think it's what makes the game quite unique as well. It's like, I can't think of anything that even comes close to looking or feeling like that game. You get a lot of games that become popular, then you find multiple games that are trying to repeat what that game did. But with Bioshock, even Infinite is completely different to the first Bioshock in terms of the way it looks and the setting and stuff like that. And I just don't think there's much else that is like that.
And that kind of leads really nicely, actually, just into, I touched on it at the start, but just this idea that Bioshock, the idea of, survival horror, first-person shooter, a little bit RPG, where it kind of had all of these boxes that it was ticking. Now, it doesn't seem that unusual. Like, loads of games are doing it, but it's really easy to forget, I think, that Bioshock kind of did it first. Not completely, but in such a successful way that it blended all of these genres. And like you said, it to the point where it's 13 years later, and as you said, Chip, there is still nothing like it. Not on that level of success.
Yeah, I know System Shock 2 kind of covered a lot of stuff Bioshock was doing, but in a much more clunky, awkward way, like where a lot of PC games were just very focused on the inventory and progression systems being really complicated, and Bioshock streamlined everything, made sure the inventory system boiled down to just the essentials, what you needed. Does it heal me? Does it give me ammo? Does it give me power? Does it give me money? Whereas before that, System Shock was a very convoluted system. I know some of the purists prefer System Shock 2, but I think Bioshock is what made that whole thing popular, because it made it something everyone can access. You don't just have to be a major RPG head to get into it.
I was nice actually, speaking of System Shock, has anyone actually played either the first one or the second one? Because the second one was 8 years before Bioshock, And
Yeah.
I've never played it, but from what I've read, it's more cyberpunky than biopunky.
Yeah, it's very cyberpunk. It's the same, like, Bioshock's a spiritual successor to System Shock 2.
Have you played it then?
Yeah, it's very good, but it's much more bogged down in details. Like, Bioshock gets right down to the important stuff, just so you can focus more on the being in the moment and, like, experiencing the story and experiencing the terror and, like, taking in the atmosphere. Whereas System Shock 2, you have to spend a bit of your mental energy focusing on all the different systems that it's got for you to use.
Are there any whales in System Shock?
I don't remember any space whales.
I think you would. If you were in space and you saw a whale,
So that's odd.
I'll remember that.
The whale would be equally like, oh, a
The,
spaceship.
the whale would definitely remember it. Maybe not. Oh, I assume space whales can remember for a long time. Space goldfish can't.
This is a weird bit that we've set off on,
Yep. I mean,
even for us. You mentioned there about the storyline, and I think because of there's so many mechanics at play in Bioshock, and you know, when I was first getting used to it, and to be fair, obviously you guys were watching as I was streaming it at the time, so I think you could see that I was finding it quite overwhelming, the amount of mechanics that there are. There's shooting, there's stealth, there's combat, there's the plasmids, and there is hacking. No, it's the tonics, is that I was thinking of.
yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
And-
the tonics.
all the different, like, power-ups and stuff.
There's just so much stuff to manage throughout it, and yet somehow they still manage to make it that you still find yourself focusing on the story. The story is so engrossing
Yes.
Yeah.
that it's not too heavy on that inventory management.
Yeah, it's very straightforward.
I think just on the point about the mechanics of it as well is that it's flexible enough that you can play the game in different ways if you want to. Like, I tend to favour like hacking things so that I can let all the bots do the work for me. Because I'm not good at first person shooter games. I find them quite disorientating. I usually play third person, so it always takes me a while to get back into that kind of lack of periphery. And I think, yeah, so, you know, if you're an all guns blazing first person shooter type, you can do that, absolutely. If you want to be a bit more stealth and do the hacking approach, you can. And you can do what Sasha did, which was just run around and bash everything with a wrench. So,
Wrench
Which is
approach
the best
very
way.
valid.
yeah, I'm not disputing the value of the wrench approach. It was my first approach as well. I think I couldn't get used to changing the weapons, so I'd just be like, sod it, I'll just use the wrench.
I did like that was one of the first, like, combat mechanics that the game teaches you. Like, once you've electrocuted someone, run up to them, hit them with a wrench.
Yeah.
Like, the game encourages the wrench player. Twat him.
Yeah.
I don't know, when you guys played it, like, I really developed like a style and a system that worked with me with the gameplay, and I think that's one of its strengths, is you have so many weapons and plasmids and tactics that you can use to get through the game. So mine was pretty much, right, I'm going to electrocute that guy, and then I'm going to run up to him and shoot him with a shotgun. And that was pretty much my tactic throughout the entire game, apart from fighting the big daddies, where it's like, okay, I will use these heat-seeking RPGs, and that was pretty much what I did. Like, I used the bee plasmid for a little bit because that was fun to throw bees at people. One of my lifelong dreams.
What, to throw bees at people?
Yeah, wouldn't you like a superpower to be able to throw bees at people?
I
It's
mean,
not
of
top
all
of the
the
list.
superpowers I would pick, and the plasmids from the game I would pick, I don't think throwing bees would be the one I went for, I must admit.
I just think
do
it'll
the
be
bees
fun.
listen to you, or do they just do their own thing, like bees?
I think they're just bees.
So you couldn't guarantee they wouldn't try and chase you.
No, but you would have the power because you would be projecting them from your person upon another person, and then you just kind of stay away for a bit.
Or you could throw fire at people.
Yes.
Yeah, that was also pretty good. But I like the electricity one, and I did like the winter, the ice one as well.
Winter Blast?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's it. But then obviously, if you kill people, then I don't think you can pick up their loot afterwards because they kind of shatter.
Yeah.
I think I'm right. So yeah, I just mostly stuck to electrocute people, shoot them with a shotgun or the machine gun if I got NC personnel around, and that was pretty much my tactic throughout the entire game. So I'd like to hear if you guys had tactics or how you did Bioshock. How did you Bioshock?
Well, like you say, the whole combat system is very flexible. Like, the way you can interconnect like the plasmids with a physical attack, or mix and match like the plasmids to work together. So I just generally like varied how I played throughout. If I knew there was like a big daddy coming up, I'd try and like use the hypnotize or possibly enrage, depending on who I wanted to attack who. I like to mix the electricity with fire sometimes, shock somebody, then just light them up. It's always, you could always like mix and match it with like whichever weapons you had like spare. Like if you're running low on ammo, it's always handy for the electro bolt and
Yes.
the wrench.
Yeah.
Is it a wrench or is it a spanner?
It's a
Or is it the
wrench.
same
It's a wrench.
thing? I'm
It's a
not
wrench.
DIY boy. It's a wrench.
You know what a wrench looks like, right?
No.
Okay. I don't want Andy fixing anything near me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just come around and do it with the bees.
Yeah, I'm sure that will be really
Oh, they do-
helpful.
yeah,
I can't see anything going wrong with that.
Google to the rescue. Now I know what a wrench and a spanner are the same thing.
I'm really pleased for you.
It's a big day for me.
We've learnt so much already today. We've learnt what a wrench is, how whales remember things.
What space whales may or may not remember.
Yeah, this is great. It's informative and educational.
You have learned about the existence of space whales
Well, yeah, it's a big day.
and maybe space spanners.
Well, obviously you need space spanners to fix, like, space appliances. So,
Oh no, are we just going to start putting space in front of everything and starting a conversation that way?
We'll save that for System Shock Day.
What about space bees?
I don't
This
want
is
space
Bioshock.
bees.
This is underwater spanners.
It is
Oh,
an
no.
underwater
Oh, no.
whales. It's
Underwater whales, the classic. That's the scientific name.
yeah.
Sasha, tell me about your style of play for Bioshock. Tell me about using the wrench.
Yeah, I like you saying that because you watched me play. So, no, my style is very freeform.
Or you with the spanner. The wrench, sorry.
Yeah,
Free for
Freeform.
it was just whatever was available to me at the time, and a little bit of panic usually, but it was fine. I don't know how that I had a tactic other than just attack it head on, whatever it was, regardless of the enemy. Big daddies, security devices, splicers, they all get the same treatment. Just
Panic wrench.
twat it.
just try my best to beat it over the head with a wrench. That was
You see, having played games with you a lot now, it makes every sense in the world that your approach to gaming is, or specifically Bioshock is, whatever I have in my hand, I'm just going to twat it. See, like, I was a bit more like Chip in that I would hack all the security bots. For one, I love the hacking mini games. They're so much fun. So I used to like just lose myself hacking things for a while in the game, which I'm aware is a bit weird. So
I got a lot of anxiety from those.
really, oh no, I really
Yeah,
like it.
there's a lot of sort of like, oh shit. I mean, I did enjoy them to an extent, but there was definitely panic.
I like the pressure. I think I handle pressure better than you though, Chip. So
Well, that's probably fair.
Yeah.
so yeah, I would go around hacking all the security devices and the security cameras, and then be sort of happily wandering around with all the alarms going off and splices getting shot everywhere, and me just going, oh, I'm just gonna get some bread. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's eat some crisps. Okay. Oh, there's an audio tape. I'll listen to that. So I didn't really do combat as much as possible.
I feel like there should be some sort of trophy for like, oh, you got through the game without using a single piece of ammo.
Yeah.
You mentioned about the trying to avoid combat, and all I was going to say is I think that's very fair. Again, anyone that just ever has watched me play a game in any capacity or in life, just watched me go about my life, I scare easy. Like, I'm very jumpy as a person. And
Have
so
you ever been frightened of your own reflection in a video game before, Sasha?
you know that I have, and you also know that I've been afraid of my own reflection in real life. So
Yeah, I just wanted to set you up for that one.
thank you. Yeah, no, the splicers in particular set me into that fight or flight of just hit them with the wrench, hit them with whatever I've got. Like, I kept panicking in the face of them. Although I do think I was a pretty neat shot, like, as the more I got playing it. But it never stopped making me jump, particularly it's the Houdini ones, isn't it? That just appear in front of you. It's like, no, this is not good for me.
Yeah, the spider splices were my least favourite. Like, I'd hear that, scuttling across the ceiling and just be like, no, where are they? Where? Because, yeah, they would often evade all the security stuff anyway, because they were crawling all over the walls. Yeah, I've never been a fan of the spider splices. But the Houdini ones really got to me this time, more than before. I think, yeah, it's that element of just sort of appearing. And because you don't have that periphery vision as a first-person shooter, all the scares feel like magnified because you are literally very focused on that almost tunnel vision aspect.
So speaking then of the enemies, what is everyone's worst enemy in Bioshock? I mean, I found I had a real affinity for the Big Daddies.
Oh, they're my favourite enemy, if that's the thing.
They're so iconic now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I remember seeing, like, a couple of years back, like, a Comic-Con cosplay of a Big Daddy and a Little Sister, and it was so cool. They're just instantly, like, spottable from a mile off. I love them. And
the intro of them in the game as well is incredible.
Yes.
Like, you just get the sense of the dread that they can put upon you as a player when you're coming up against one. And yeah, they look cool, they're badass, and they're fucking terrifying.
Yes. And the sound they make as well, just like, and obviously later on you find out they really smell, and that somehow makes it worse as well. The fact that you can probably smell and hear them coming before you see them, and you just know that that's what's approaching.
Oh, it's the sound of the footsteps. Like, I'd just be walking down a corridor and I can hear the footsteps, and I'm panicking and I can't see, and then I look and they're like in another tunnel, like parallel to me, and I'm like, oh fucking hell.
Or like you turn around and they're right behind you and you're like, oh, hey, Mr. Bubbles. And then you have to run.
Gotta be the scariest things ever called Mr. Bubble and Rosie, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Though, did you guys get it that when you actually killed one, you did feel slightly bad afterwards?
I did, because of the way the little sisters
react.
Yeah.
Like their grief was like, oh dear.
Oh, look. Yeah, I have been known to, like, apologise to the Little Sisters after I've killed their Big Daddy. Just be like, I'm really sorry. I'm trying to help.
It's like, you feel like you shot the dog or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Them Little Sisters are, like... I mean, I said it as I was playing. They're little bitches before they're saved. Like... I forgot about that.
So judgmental.
They encourage the Big Daddies to, like, get you. Like,
yeah, I mean, they are, like, corrupted by a sea slug. So, I feel like we should cut them a bit of slack, but also they are, like, the creepiest things.
Well, they're apparently modelled on the Grady twins, aren't they, from The Shining?
Yeah. And Juliet Lando voices them, or is one of the voices, as in Drusilla.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
She does such a good creepy voice.
She does. So yeah, I think she's the one who says, like, come on, Mr. Bubbles. Like,
that's amazing.
That's her.
She follows me on Twitter.
She follows me on Twitter as well. So.
Oh, she follows everyone on Twitter.
Yeah, she
She
does.
didn't follow me.
Do you want her to follow you?
She probably read my tweets. So.
What did you say about her?
Nothing, but just any tweet. Just do it.
I mean, if we're talking about enemies, then, like, our least favourite, can we say Atlas? Can we get to that?
Oh,
because
actually, one of my favourite, like, before we get to that, one of my favourite splicers, you meet them early on. It's the one talking into the pram, and then you kill them, and you walk up to the pram, and you see there's like a gun in there.
yes.
so
like,
unnerving.
So
like,
creepy.
Could you get any more fucking American than that? Around a fucking gun in a pram.
And talking to it.
Probably takes it to like the family photographers, like sets it up in a nice little chair, takes a picture of it.
I'm glad we could alienate our American audience in the first episode.
Yeah, just straight in there, like, nope.
We don't want any Republicans listening anyway, so.
Well, it's not going to happen now.
I don't think they like Bioshock anyway.
Well, that's a whole discussion waiting to happen.
I mean, if they did, would they want Andrew Ryan to win?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah.
So they probably would have turned the game off before they had to get to that point.
They stop just before they get to the golf club.
Oof.
Now I'm just picturing that Splicer taking the gun to like Santa's grotto and putting the gun on Santa's lap.
So if you imagined a whole
then
domestic
smile.
scenario for this
Yeah, no, it's
Splicer
just kind
and
of
their
spiraled.
gun baby.
Yeah.
Like this whole photo album of like the gun growing up and going on its first prom date, getting its first car, first girlfriend.
Killing its first big daddy.
So you mentioned Andrew Ryan, and of course Andrew Ryan, and certainly Rapture itself, being strongly inspired by Ayn Rand.
Yep.
You know, the
That delight.
the utopia and the idea of, genetically enhanced and, everything and everyone looking and being perfect. I mean, it's such a strange experience to play it and, like, have a character that really makes you go, like, just that gritting of your teeth in here, like, some of the stuff that Andrew Ryan says is just so abhorrent.
Yeah. I think one of the things I find most interesting about the approach to utopia in Rapture is it feels very much like a continuation of the kind of stuff that was going on in novelists like H.G. Wells, Yevgeny Zamyatin and Aldous Huxley as well. All these utopias that are brought about by essentially genetic engineering as far as they understood it. So selective breeding in humans, basically. And you kind of have the sort of the extension of that of, well, okay, what if you had a utopia where everyone has access to superpowers as well as being, like, perfect and good looking and mostly rich? And it's really interesting to see a game very much rooted in kind of mid, like, the 2000s ideas and sort of transplanting that onto early 20th century ideas of utopian thinking as well. And then obviously you get to Andrew Ryan and his whole objectivism stuff, the Atlas Shrugged ideas. And it's just this whole, you don't expect that much kind of philosophy and thematic thinking necessarily tightly packed into such a quite simple game.
It mixes a lot in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a lot of biblical references and stuff as well thrown in there, and it's just... I think that's what makes the game so unique in a way. It's just a melting pot of all these, like, crazy ideas. Like, I was reading up about it afterwards, and I was like, my tiny mind was just like, oh my god, this is so much to take in. I didn't realise there was so much of this.
Yeah, I mean, most of my, like, notes just on the player notes were, like, me geeking out about the various literary references that are in there, the classical references. And I mean, you could easily devote, like, a whole episode just to talking about that side of things. Like the whole idea of objectivism and how the game kind of promotes and critiques Andrew Ryan's philosophy. So objectivism being the idea that there are no ethical or moral responsibilities to anyone but yourself. That kind of selfish capitalist attitude that Ryan embodies pretty much.
Yeah, it just opened the gates for all sorts of, like, things getting out of control, like the creation of the plasmids and...
Yeah. And the rise of Fontaine as Andrew Ryan's opposite, trying to promote a community versus the individualism side of Rapture.
Yeah, I really liked the way they used the plasmids, like, as part, like, it's a standard part of, like, gaming, having, like, power-ups and stuff, but making it integral to the philosophies of the game.
Yes. And the decay of the game as well. The fall of Rapture is brought about because everyone needs Adam to survive, but there's only a finite supply of Adam to go around. So naturally, it becomes kind of like an every man for himself situation.
And I love how they tell those stories as well, not just from like Andrew Ryan or Fontaine or Atlas, but when you find all the tapes that are scattered around as well, and you get all these characters that you never actually meet in the game, but you hear their stories and just how they were involved between Fontaine and Ryan and just all these other lives that are going on. And I think they do such a great job of just filling in those gaps and telling the story of everyone in Rapture.
Yes. And of Rapture itself and how it, like, how that decay comes around. Like, Steinman, the surgeon, and I hate listening to them, but they're also so fantastic in his quest for the perfect physical specimen. He wants his Aphrodite. And when he's talking about, like, he can't get them perfect, so he keeps carving these women up. And you don't, obviously you encounter him briefly in the game, but there's a whole character there just ready-made from these audio tapes. You don't have to spend more than that with him to know exactly what this guy is about.
And you can really, he's one of the ones where you can really hear his decline and the way he changes through the game as well. Like you say, when he's trying to splice more and more and more to get the perfect, whatever he's trying to create. And I think, because obviously you find the tapes out of order and stuff like that, but I think his is one of the most clear stories that get told through the game.
Yes, for sure. And the creepiest. And he's one of the first you encounter as well, isn't he? So it really sets its stall out quite early. If you're going to meet all these grotesque people.
Yay!
Yay!
So glad I came.
Yeah. Thanks for this visit. Yeah, I suppose we are going to have to get to talking about Atlas at some point. The elephant voice in the room, as it were.
So the twist, essentially. Yeah. Again, this is the warning for anyone.
Yeah, if you haven't played it and you don't want to know what Atlas is about, mute or skip or...
And also, why are you here?
Yeah.
This is a show about Bioshock. Go play the game, it's amazing.
And then come back and listen to us.
Yes.
If you like.
Way to self-promote, Andy.
Oh, please come back. I miss you.
Very sincere. We're going to have to work on your delivery, I think.
Nah, I'm fine.
Well, we can do some ad reads. We're just going to make Andy do them.
Yeah.
Please do.
Download Robin Hood today.
Oh, God, no.
Topical.
It won't be in like a month when this comes out.
Everyone will be like, why are they talking about Nottingham? Like, what?
So Atlas.
Yes.
The point at where I am in the game is the point of the betrayal, the big reveal of who Atlas actually is, who Andrew Ryan actually is.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God.
To you, genuinely, like, mind blow. Like, it has to be up there with one of the top, I don't know, if you were going to make like a top 10 list of twists in a game or twists in anything, really.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, in general.
It's just one of those that was so unexpected. And it's, I mean, like I say, it's a 13-year-old game, and somehow that had managed to be kept mostly secret from me. I knew the Would You Kindly was something, but I couldn't, I didn't know, I wasn't sure, and the way it's revealed is...
It makes me really happy that you didn't know that and you got to experience that, like how it was meant to be experienced. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, because as you say, it is such an iconic reveal. Because it takes, not only does it take like the story and turn it on its head, but it takes the whole concept of the video game itself, you as the player, as well as you as Jack, and just shatters all of it with that one "would you kindly" phrase. You know, you've had this illusion of control because you're a person playing a first-person shooter, and video games tell you how to do things and teach you how to interact with the world, and that's how Atlas functions for you at first. And I think, Sasha, you spotted it when you were playing it, that very early on Atlas asks you, would you kindly put that wrench down? And you do it without you actually taking any action on the controller. And it's not something I'd ever picked up on until you pointed it out. And I was like, oh my God. And I've played that. I mean, this is like my 4th playthrough. And so it's so built into the fabric of the game, but is also so destructive to that fabric. It's just, you'd never be able to pull it off now. But at the time, like, mind-blowing.
And just where you touched on there, so I don't know if it was just because of some kept knowledge of that bit of the game in the back of my head, or what, if I'd heard someone talking about it, but the whole "would you kindly" thing just really stood out to me anyway, because, like, it has a little bit of an open world type feel to it at times. There's times when you can just faff around, wander about areas, and then as soon as Atlas says "would you kindly," you get the little arrow on the screen telling you where to go.
Yeah.
And it was another one of those it's quite subtle, because especially if you're a person that plays video games, you're used to this stuff all the time. The idea of you're given a mission, or you're given like an action, something that you need to perform to progress through the story. So you're so used to that idea of, the game wants me to go do this thing, so I'll go do this thing. And then, the reveal happens, and it turns out it's that whole mind control thing. And it's like that whole thing of because you're following directions that were given to you, or any illusion of control is just gone. It's like you're just following out, a world designed for you by someone else. And it's so meta in terms of gaming anyway. And I think the reason it has such an impact versus if you maybe tried to do it now, or if you tried to do it in a different setting, a different game, so much of this works so well because of the first person perspective, but not just the first person perspective, because it's the fact that your character never has a face, your character never has a voice. It really feels like you like you don't have thoughts, nothing. There's nothing there. Like you're literally just arms, and as you're walking around, like
with a really nice jumper on.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is that really strange feeling of like you get so absorbed into it. Like for me, as someone who has like a constant inner monologue, I start thinking as if I'm the character. Like I'll be making up my own monologue for the character. And then you're like, oh, I had no control ever. And also I'm like, 4 years old in reality, which is probably why I'm not speaking and stuff. Anyway, it's such a moment.
And one of the things I spotted when I was watching your playthrough of it as well is the note on the present that you see right at the beginning when you're on the aeroplane says, "Would you kindly?" So the implication is, like, even before you're actually in control of this character, you have no control of the character. Like, the implication is that you're about to hijack the plane, and it's the "Would you kindly" on the label that triggers you, or awakens you as that character, and it's so well done.
I think what Sasha was saying as well is like how Jack is this kind of blank slate that you've been imprint on, not in a creepy Twilight way, but the way that, again, going back to that great intro, is like nothing about this character. You're on a plane, you read that note, and you see like a brief picture of like what you assume is the family or something.
Yeah.
And then it just kicks off, and you're just straight into it. There's no like, Jack was on a plane. Where was he going? Where was he coming from? Like, why is he fine just picking up a gun and just shooting loads of people? You're straight into it. You are that character, and I think that's incredibly well done. And like you guys have been saying, it's just that the way it's constructed and built in to just feel like any old video game, but it's so important to that story and that game.
Yeah, and also to the themes as well. Objectivism is all about making your own personal choice that is best for you. And I think we'll get into the morality of Bioshock later in terms of the Little Sisters, but specifically for the decisions that you're making, finding more money, finding more ammo, it's all for your survival. And the "Would you kindly" reveal takes that choice away, because what you're actually doing is serving Atlas. You're Atlas's puppet, basically, for his personal quest against Ryan. And it all builds to that amazing scene with Andrew Ryan in his office. And it always sticks out with me that a man chooses, a slave obeys. And it's that whole idea, like, Jack is that kind of dichotomy between the two positions. You can choose or you can obey, and that moment kind of breaks that phrase in half. So before that you're obeying, and then from that moment on in the story you can choose more so. And then obviously Andrew Ryan himself chooses death and commits to it wholeheartedly with the golf club.
The thing that I liked about I found interesting about the death scene is it was a scripted moment. You had no like agency over that scene. It just played out, and it was like the veil had dropped, and all like illusion of choice was gone. and like you just fully committed to the idea of loss of control.
Yeah, and it's really traumatic watching the character that you've grown attached to playing throughout the game do something so coldly violent. I think, because when you're...
It's not self-defense.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like
it's not a slice of
murder.
run. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have to mention Armin Shimmerman's performance as Andrew Ryan, because it makes Ryan such an imperious figure, the kind of Orson Welles voice that he puts on, and the Vincent Price appearance. Like, he's, for all intents and purposes, this sort of giant figure of a man, but in that scene he feels so small.
Yeah, it's like a shitty Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, exactly that. Peer behind the curtain and there's just a small man with a mustache and a golf club. But yeah, I mean, playing it again recently, I'd not forgotten the power of the scene, but I think I had forgotten the trauma of it and the violence of it.
It's really shocking. I think even now, even when you know it's coming, it's still really shocking. And I had that with Atlas as well. Like, obviously I knew the twist and that he was actually Fontaine, but in the early parts of the game, it still got to me. I was still like, oh no, Patrick and Moira.
Yeah.
No, what has happened? And I was like, but no, I know what this is. They're not real. They're fine. But I think that's all in the performance and the scripting and stuff like that. It's just absolutely brilliant that it still got me. And I was like, God damn it, I've got to save this man's family. No, wait, he's a cunt. Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot about that. My bad.
It's the lack of control again. The game's telling you what to do and how to feel in the moment.
Yeah,
it got me. It absolutely got me.
And it gets you hook, line, and sinker every time, or it has with me anyway.
It wouldn't be able to do that if the game wasn't good.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you wouldn't
yeah.
you'd just go through the motions otherwise. But in a game that engrossing, you just pulled straight back in, and you're gonna let yourself get fooled just to go with the story.
Yeah,
and I think that speaks volumes about the game and the quality of it as well.
Yeah. I'm quite happy to be tricked like as many times as that game wants to.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, fool me many times. I will be happy
No
to.
shame.
Yeah.
So see, we touched upon the twist earlier. One of the things I'd written down actually was like, is it the best twist in video game history? Like, I was trying to think if there was anything of equivalent or better. And I couldn't really. The only thing I could really think of is like maybe Spec Ops: The Line, like in terms of like a powerful kind of thing that hits you in the gut. But I mean, what do you guys think?
It'd be either Spec Ops: The Line or Knights of the Old Republic. Those are the only twists that I could say of equal.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I don't think it's so much a twist, but in terms of a gut punch, where the story goes in Red Dead Redemption 2, which I feel owes a lot.
Talk about that.
But I feel it owes a lot to this particular moment in Bioshock. In terms of like a loss of control. I won't go into details because we're going to talk about Red Dead Redemption 2 at some point anyway.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
But just that, I think it's what reminded me of Bioshock, but I don't think there has ever been a twist for me in anything. Film, book, video game, where I felt so completely like taken out by the twist, like literally.
Oh wow.
Floor opening up, because I think it was just so well crafted, and it, like I said before, it affects every fabric of the game. It's, your experience as a story, also your experience as a player, and to have that kind of power is really quite something.
It's a twist that could only be done in like a linear video game. Like, you couldn't do it in a movie, really. It's the fact that you've got some sense of control over the way the story's playing out, or you think you do, and then it pulls the rug out from under you. You couldn't get that from a movie or a book or a TV show. You'd just be watching somebody else experiencing that, whereas you're experiencing this twist up close and personal.
Ah, the power of video games.
Yes. Good video games, anyway.
Yeah. But what about you, Bash?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head in terms of anything that stands out to me more than that as being like a more shocking plot twist.
Did it get you in the gut? Like, it kind of coming to it, obviously apart from it just being a good twist, how did it get you kind of like personally and emotionally?
Are you asking if I cried?
Tell
I'm
us
not
your
saying
feelings.
I want you to cry on every single episode, but...
Open up. Don't hold us back.
Oh, don't. We're not therapists, please.
I think one of the things that maybe it hasn't been touched on in terms of the twist, but it's some of the... For me, I ended up, like I say, getting really attached to the character of Jack. And I've not, like I said, I've not finished it anyway, but up to the point of the twist, like, you really root for the character because the character is you. And so it felt like to me like the twist happened to me. And I don't think this comes as just a different perspective of, you know, being a mum or anything, but weirdly, one of the things that really got me, because all the way through you know that Andrew Ryan's a villain, not just because you're told he's the villain, but because he has really abhorrent ideologies. Like, he's just objectively also bad. And you don't get that from, you know, the Atlas character, although something always felt off. I think for me, the thing that made him, like, the worst ever, like, a worse villain than Andrew Ryan in the terms of the game, just because regardless of whether that whole sense of community and whatever he'd originally been aiming for, whether that was admirable pursuit or whatever.
Well, he's doing it for a power grab, so...
Yeah. The thing that got me, as does with many of these types of things, is he took a child from a mum, and then they just did all these horrible things to a child. Forced him to, he was like 19, had the body of a 19-year-old by the time he was 1 year old, or whatever it was. And his, you know, those 4 years of his life that he's lived at the point that you're in the game, it's just being conditioned to be a puppet, basically. That hit me in a different way as certain games have in the past. So I'm thinking things like The Walking Dead, Telltale games. I mean, they're absolutely devastating anyway. But there's moments in there that particularly involve children that really hit me in like that full-on gut punch of just... And I'm not suggesting that people who aren't parents can't have that, but I think it's very much at the forefront of your mind.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
When you are one, because naturally it's part of my world, being a parent. So as soon as it was like, yeah, this baby was stolen and then experimented on and all this horrible stuff, it's just like, oh my God, he's literally the fucking worst. Like, I know going back into it, I'm like, I just want to destroy him. Like, that's just such a horrible thing to do to... I mean, a lot of it is anyway, but, you know, it just felt like this... It felt personal in that way. Which I imagine for a lot of gamers maybe... And I know I'm overgeneralizing, but I don't know that, and from reading, it doesn't look like that's necessarily been massively picked up, which is fine. But it's just... It's certainly the thing that just really stood out to me, like, instantly.
Yeah, it's not something that I thought of, actually, until you brought it up. Like, obviously, knowing that Jack was a child and was experimented on is horrific, but I'd never thought of it, like, I don't know, I don't think I dwelled on that. I think I spent more time thinking about that sort of loss of control and the idea of being used and manipulated. And,
yeah.
You know, your sole existence is to rid the world of Andrew Ryan on behalf of Fontaine. Like, there is no other purpose.
I think that's the beauty of why it's such a great game as well. It's like we can all come into it with these different kind of avenues and ways that it gets us, and we all still love it. Like, that's the sign of the writing and the craftsmanship behind it.
I think it's not to dwell on it, but I do think so much of that comes from as well that the protagonist, Jack, is such a blank slate to start with, and it's so easy to immerse yourself into his world in a way that few other games have done for me, because so many games, even when they're first person, they still have a voice for that character, so it's not your voice, it's not you.
I don't think it would work nearly so well if Jack had any more of a personality beyond wearing a cable knit jumper. You know.
Yeah.
I do think you're right. I think that is, like, at the core of it, that is essential to why the game works and why it does affect us all in such different but similar ways.
Because you're coming at it from your own first-person experience of your world, your life, and you're applying it to that one. So we've discussed a lot about the twist, and now the bit that I haven't played, although I know there's the good ending, and I know there's actually technically 2 bad endings. Like, there's one that's bad, real bad, and one that's bad, not so bad. And those very much depend on, is it Tenenbaum?
Tenenbaum,
Her opinion of you. This is the bit that I haven't played, although I know that I'm on track to the good ending.
Just get that in there, like, I'm so virtuous. I'm getting the good ending.
Unlike
I've not sacrificed any of the children.
I did that once, okay, in the first playthrough, and it was the first one. I didn't know what I was doing or the controls, and I felt guilty about it for the last 12 years until I played it again and managed to get the good ending finally. And I felt like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. My heart is pure again. I got the good ending on my second playthrough. Everything's okay.
Deep down, you know which is the real ending for you.
Yeah, the good one, the good one.
Sure.
I've always got the good ending. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I'm like physically incapable of playing any game like as the bad guy. I just can't do it. I feel too guilty. So,
but I feel like it's a bit harsh though. Like I got rid of one little sister, just the first one, just one.
Murdered
you know?
one child.
oh yeah, only
Just
one
one
child. It's okay.
You murder
saved the
one
rest.
kid and they call you a child killer for the rest of your life.
Like if you think about it as a bar chart, I'm looking pretty good.
Very psychotic.
Your Honour.
Like,
I'm not sure that defense is going to hold up in court yet. To be
No,
honest.
I didn't like it. I was really sad the first time I played it and I got the bad ending, which is why I was so determined. Like, every time I picked up a little sister, I was like, right, make sure you push the right fucking button. You're going to do it this time and it's going to be okay. And I was fine. Everything's okay.
Did you get the middle bad ending?
I don't know, actually. I didn't actually know there was a bad ending and a really, really bad ending. So I only harvested one little sister. So I'm guessing medium bad ending?
Yeah, so I think the degrees are... So obviously if you get the good ending, you rescue the 5 little sisters that help you versus Fontaine. And they grow up to live happy lives and they're with you as Jack dies. And you still only see his hand in that scene, which I loved.
Yeah.
And then I think the medium bad ending is the Splicer discovers the nuclear submarine and Tenenbaum's accusatory, but she's not like massively unhappy with you. And then the third, like the bad ending is Tenenbaum basically just hates you. like and you've caused the end of the world is the implication, I think.
yeah, that the splicers get to the surface.
Yeah, and obviously chaos ensues. So yeah, like I said, I've never had a bad ending. So I'm great. But yeah, that brings us neatly to the mechanic of the moral choices in the game. And I'll leave Andy to introduce this bit.
Oh, you mean ludonarrative dissonance?
I do.
And
Why?
don't
Just
be
about to say
confused.
that.
Why do...
Please don't be confused. We didn't just activate a Winter Soldier. It's an actual thing.
I love the idea that you've introduced that and there's you two that have got copious notes and understand this, and me and Chip are like sat there like dum-dums, just like,
I was just like, Bash, I'm going to get a cup of tea or something while I'm having a chat about this.
No, hopefully will be really interesting. Okay, yeah, don't rush to, like, agree. Jesus.
I was going to say hopefully.
Thanks.
I don't know if that's better.
Cautious
That's
optimism.
the equivalent to putting the picture on the fridge.
Pure faith.
Tell us about Ludo narrative dissonance. Thank you.
Happy to. Okay, so ludonarrative dissonance is a term coined by a former LucasArts creative director called Clint Hocking, and it's used to describe the disconnect between a video game's narrative as told through the story and the narrative being told with the gameplay. And it's been used a lot in the past, like recently, like to criticize games like Uncharted, where the story you're playing doesn't really fit with the shocking amount of murder you're causing in the gameplay. And it was invented in an essay about Bioshock. Yeah, so he basically makes the point that the gameplay is kind of promoting you to seek power to progress, by draining little sisters and stuff. And that comes into conflict. So I'll start again.
That's staying in.
I liked conflict.
Conflict. He was making the point that the gameplay asks you to seek power to progress by, like, gaining more Adam. I'll do that again, sorry. I'm laughing at conflict. Do you want to do this, Becky?
No.
Do you want to, like...
No.
We can jump between if we're going to both be talking about it. No? Okay.
No.
Fuck.
No, you're doing it really well. I've talked a lot so far, so...
So he puts forward the idea that the gameplay is asking you to, like, seek power to progress. So, like, draining little sisters to gain Adam. And that comes into conflict with the narrative intentions of the game, which is largely to critique the objectivist, like, philosophy.
Yay, well done.
I did it in one take.
You did. We'll ignore all the other ones.
Explain it to me like I'm 5.
The game is saying, like, self-interest is bad, but the gameplay kind of, you have to be a bit self-interested to get anywhere in the game. That's what it's arguing.
Okay, now explain it to me like I'm 3.
No.
Why are you playing Bioshock? You're free.
So I have issues with this
I have
reading of
many.
the game. Because I think, for me, it's derived from a kind of oh, now I'm flubbing.
Haha! How do you feel?
I didn't say conflict, at least. So for me, I have a lot of issues with this because
Yeah.
it feels like it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what the game is trying to do. It would work if the game ultimately revealed... Well, the game would work without the twist, in that sense, if you were playing it on an objectivist style. So you were making the selfish choices, you were draining the little sisters. But that's not what the game's doing. Because obviously you're revealed to be someone else's puppet, so therefore any decisions that you've made aren't yours. And I can't see how that's critiquing the player in that sense, or how it's disconnecting from what the game is trying to say, because if you do follow the objectivist idea and you steal all the Adam, you get the bad ending. Ergo, objectivism is bad. So...
Yeah, that every ending is a critique.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because if you get the good ending, it's because you've helped and you've been ethically sound in rescuing children, basically. So it feels like it's a critique based on a writer's idea of what the game is doing rather than what the game is actually doing.
A very similar thing sort of came up around The Last of Us Part 2, where people were saying it's really fun to kill people, and the story is very much about violence is bad. And the game is very much designed to make the violence not fun. So anybody who's really gaining that sort of enjoyment, it's not the game's fault, really. It's just they happen to like violence.
Yeah, they should be on a list.
Yeah, and I think that's the case. If you're
Goodbye, Last of Us 2 fans.
and
nice
another
to
one
have you.
gone.
Hey, we're Last of Us 2 fans.
Yeah, like proper fans.
And I think as well, like, very early on, you know, when you're given the choice with the first little sister, you've got Tenenbaum saying, no, you can save them, versus Atlas going, no, you're going to need the Adam. So very early on, one of the first acts of defiance that you can make versus Atlas, while he's still in control of you, is to opt for the morally good choice by saving the little sister. So it's already kind of contradicting that kind of dissonance that this guy is implying by having you have that choice very early on.
Yeah, Chip.
Yeah, I liked throwing bees at people.
I did tell you I was going to get a bit, like, nerdy on this one.
I was to say my yeah Chip was entirely directed at Chip, who claims he, you know, did it by accident or whatever, harvesting the little girl's Adam.
Yeah.
But it was a choice that you were allowed to make and encouraged to
I
make.
pushed
but
the wrong
there's
button.
a lot of build up to that moment as well. The little sister's like crawling away from you in terror.
Yeah.
It gives you plenty of times to like think, this is a little child that I am terrifying and possibly going to murder.
I'm sorry, are we setting me up as a child killer in episode 1? Can we at least get to episode 6 before we do this, please?
I think
You outed yourself.
Yeah, you told the story.
Because I felt so bad about it. I pushed the wrong button when I didn't know what I was doing with the game controls.
But yeah, so I think the point for me, my interpretation of Bioshock is that it's, you know, it's arguing that the power that you gain from making those selfish choices and only looking after number one in that very objectivist kind of way is actually, it's ultimately, however you do it, it's going to corrupt you. So if you make those choices at Jack, you get the bad ending. Fontaine obviously ends up like absolutely chock full of Adam and being killed by Jack. Spoilers. Andrew Ryan, you know, all his bad choices in terms of having a government-free rapture with no regulation leads to the rise of Fontaine and ultimately Ryan's downfall. You know, at no point does the game reward that kind of moral choice. So, yeah, it feels like a very basic misinterpretation that is very interesting and can easily be applied to the other games that Andy mentioned, but doesn't work here.
It's a good bit of critique, but it was applied to the wrong game to start with.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Exactly that.
I'd say it'd be really cool is we could put the link to the article in the description, and then maybe, you know, if people listen to this and want to check it out, and then come let us know what they think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to know what they know about it.
Oh, Andy.
Come let us know if you enjoyed the violence in Last of Us 2.
That's another thing with the endings. Like, I know Ken Levine didn't want the multiple endings, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
thought that kind of like took away from like the intentions of the game.
Yeah, he wanted it to be much more ambiguous.
Yeah. The endings are very binary. It's like the good ending is like really nice and it feels like the most appropriate, but the bad ending is like
It's the end
it was
of
in
the
that
world.
weird period where it's that weird period where the moral choice system was like just in extremes.
Yeah.
There was no like nuance. Like if you did one bad thing, you were basically fucked.
It'd be
And it
interesting.
will make you feel bad for 10 years.
Yeah, oh poor Chip. Where is Chip?
Where is Chip?
But yeah, it would be really interesting. Obviously, I wouldn't want them to remake Bioshock. The remaster is just stunning and it's perfect as it is. But it would be interesting now that we do have the more advanced, like, moral mechanics, how that would affect a story like Bioshock and especially the endings. You know, would you get more shades of grey in there, or would it make more sense to keep it at that binary?
Well, interestingly, I was going to ask actually how you guys felt about the next Bioshock, whatever it'll be called, whether it's Bioshock 4 or something else, kind of moving forward without Ken Levine being involved. Obviously, he didn't work on 2, but did Infinite, which doesn't have multiple endings. But, I mean, how do you guys feel about 2K? Well, I mean, they're only publishing it because it's a new studio, Cloud Chambers, developing a new game without kind of the lead director on it.
I feel indifferent.
I have concerns, but it's hard to tell
What are your concerns?
until we see something. From what I've heard, it's going to be more of like an open world, like, environment. So it's going to, and the thing I like about the Bioshocks is it gives the impression of an open world game, but it's still very, like, even like Bioshock Infinite kind of, it's a more open space, but it still funnels you through a really tightly told story. And I'm worried about like adding too many RPG elements to Bioshock's going to take away that.
It won't feel like Bioshock with that, I don't think.
Yeah. It's going to feel more like Fallout or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't want more Fallout. Sorry, Fallout fans.
I think I want to stay
But you
cautiously.
brought it on yourself.
I want to stay cautiously optimistic because I love Bioshock and I love the worlds that you get to explore as part of it. But yeah, I have similar concerns. You know, the themes of all 3 Bioshock games are very tied into that kind of funnel system and that kind of that progression through a story. And the storytelling is always so great that as long as that's not lost, maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm worried about how you can tell like a story that touches on like philosophy and like a broad range of themes and tones and things like that you come to expect from Bioshock, when it's a lot more like freeform choice. Like you've got more choice to do what you want, which is what usually comes with like an open world experience. It's very hard to like have a really tight and like focused story.
And Bash, you're indifferent.
I'm only indifferent. I'm only indifferent in so much as I've obviously not played the other 2, and I've not even finished this one yet. So it's only from that respect. I don't have any sort of strong comparisons to say, oh, you know, Bioshock that 2 that was made without him was like this, and then, you know, the other Bioshocks are like this. I mean, my brain always kind of switches off a little bit when I hear about open world generally. We know that I'm easily overwhelmed by open world games when it's too open world. So regardless of any of the themes of Bioshock's
Looking at you, Ubisoft.
Just
Bye, Ubisoft.
I like little bits of, I like some of that, but I do still like having a story to follow, and anything that feels too big is just like, I don't know where to start or continue, and it can be just way too easy for me to pick something else up, and then once you've lost, like, all it takes is for me to not play a game for a couple of weeks, and then I'm like, oh, I don't know how to play it anymore.
Yeah.
So that would be my only thing where something screams out at me, is because I feel like open world is the way everything's going now, game wise, and it's fine, but it's always that thing of like, but please have some story line that I can follow.
And there is a really, like, after being in an open world game, there's a really nice, like, when you return to something that is more focused and is more linear, it's a really nice feeling to just be like, okay, I'm just following this set path and it's going to tell me a story, rather than, oh, I have to go and collect like 32 different types of plants before I can advance to like the next level of the story.
Hello, Ubisoft. I do find with open world games I get quite systematic about it, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to finish everything in this corner of the map, and then I shall go to the next corner of the map, and then I feel like, sometimes I really enjoy that, like kind of just that, it's almost like vegetating in front of like a shit film or something.
Yeah.
You're just doing it almost automatically, and there's something quite passive about it, but also quite relaxing sometimes. But sometimes you do lose the story, like Bash was saying, you kind of get taken out of it because there's just so much and it is so overwhelming.
Story's way too important to Bioshock to
Yeah.
muddle down.
The good news is there are some of the old Bioshock developers working on the new one, so maybe there's a hope that it could be good. But, I mean, if not, then I think Ken Levine, he has opened a new studio, Ghost Story Games, and they are apparently working on a new unannounced project, which is also going to be published by 2K. So that could be interesting.
The one thing about the new Bioshock that I'd like them to change is no more plasmids or like plasmid thing. What would you call it? Things like plasmid, like in Bioshock Infinite. The Vigors. The Vigors made no sense in Bioshock Infinite. They were just there because they had something of the equivalent in Bioshock.
Yeah.
The Vigors didn't make sense to the themes of Infinite. They made perfect sense in Bioshock because it's about the whole unchecked like power and the pursuit of like exceptionalism and things like that. But it didn't make sense in Columbia, which like playing God in Columbia seems like it'd get you killed. So that's if they were going to do Bioshock, don't add things just because they're in a Bioshock game. Make it consistent with the world, which is what Bioshock did with everything.
Yeah.
Every single part of Bioshock makes sense.
Agreed. Yeah.
So it's like be brave enough to not have like bees coming out of your hands in Bioshock 4.
No, keep that in.
Unless if it's a game about a beekeeping like commune, then sure.
We want bees coming out of hands, and we want space whales.
Oh yeah, no, I want space whales. I'm not sure about the bees.
I never said anything wrong about space whales.
Any final thoughts on Bioshock?
I love it. It's my favourite.
Yeah, I like that. I love it.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's alright.
It is so far. I'm enjoying it a lot. Maybe by the next time we record, I'll be able to say, just bring
it up on a completely unrelated episode.
Yeah.
No.
We're talking about Spider-Man, but I finished Bioshock.
Well, I was going to say
Spider-Man. No.
It'll segue nicely, to be fair, into our next section. I can bring it up in the next, what have you been playing? What are you going to play?
Hey,
and maybe I'll be able to be like, Bioshock. I finished it.
I really hope you come into the next episode and go, that was a bit shit, wasn't it? The ending? That was awful. What are you guys talking about?
Well, you're wasting my time for like an hour and a half.
I think I'd actually be heartbroken if you did that. I was like, no.
I'd refuse to apologise.
No pressure.
I'd quit.
Yeah, no pressure at all.
No pressure. No.
Just pretend to like it. That's what we what we really want.
We don't want...
Quick, go back to your segue. Quick.
Yeah. Segue. What have we been playing?
Flawless. Absolutely flawless.
So subtle. Manoeuvred like a dream.
Yep. Well, I already did it. I even did a little half jingle.
Segue.
What are we playing? What are we gonna play?
Was that the jingle?
Yeah.
No, maybe. Segway! Does that work?
Sure.
We did it.
Yeah.
We've segued.
Okay. I mean, I can talk about what I have been playing first.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Did we introduce the segment?
This is the segment where we discuss what we have been playing for the last month and what we might be thinking about playing for the coming up month. Is that better?
Brilliant.
I
That's perfect.
love it.
Beautiful.
Not sarcastic at all.
It's going to sound really weird out of
Yeah.
context. I want
That's
Chip to
fine.
remove my badgering and just make it sound like Sasha's got an attitude problem. What's her problem? Fucking hell.
Oh, God.
All right, and third Sasha segue.
Segway! They're
Segway.
getting more desperate. I have mostly been playing on my Switch because Percival, my PlayStation 4, is very much on his way out.
Poor old bastard.
I know.
Limping along.
He needs to, to go to the farm in the sky now.
Aw.
No, he's going to be relegated to Blu-ray player, but that's a total aside. And I think the last couple of weeks I found myself getting a little bit hyperfixated, I think, with Picross, which I can only describe as like picture Sudoku. I don't know. It's according to my Switch, I've put 60 hours into it.
Wow.
And it's
Whoa.
literally just puzzles.
Okay.
It's literally just playing puzzles.
Do we need an intervention?
I mean, maybe. But
Okay.
I think it's just where you mentioned about passive because it gets increasingly difficult. I've completed the season 5 that they released and I now got season 4. So I'm yeah, it's all I can say is if you like Sudokus or like those kinds of puzzle type games, it's very addicting. I have also played a couple of indie games because it's kind of my thing. Is like I'll try out most indie games. So the Switch being known for its absolutely massive indie library, which I'm like so chuffed with, and I think just one of the real highlights has been A Short Hike.
Oh, I don't know that.
I think it's only on Switch. I've got a feeling it's only on Switch.
Switch dickhead.
Switch dickhead, yeah.
Again, out
I
of
was going to
context.
say that Steam has a better indie library, but I didn't want to be a PC dickhead.
I'm just going to sit over here with my PC4 dickheadness.
The Switch does have an amazing indie library. As far as the consoles go, it's the best.
It does, yeah, as far as consoles, and I think because, obviously, I mean, I hope anyone listening to this knows what a Switch is, so there's the handheld, and there's the TV, and there's, you can, it's a multifaceted console, so I think that's my thing as well, is that I'm really enjoying getting into some shorter games, so I played Gone Home as well. That took me about 2 hours. A Short Hike took me like less than an hour. Gone Home has no replayability, I would say, but A Short Hike definitely does. I know that I missed some things, and I'm definitely going to play that again. And I love those sorts of games. Yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing. And then like a lot of the big Switch hitters like Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart, So it's basically just been a very Switch month since I did my whole treat myself in December and finally
Yeah, that makes
caved
sense.
and
You got a new
one.
toy, right?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, what have you guys been playing though? Because you guys, I know, I'm not saying this to be look at me, a Switch dickhead, but you are not Switch dickheads. So what have you been playing?
Well, as the PS4 dickhead, I've been playing a combination of Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and Sims 4, which are two games which don't go together very well, but I've been really enjoying like the kind of mindlessness of The Sims, and I've just got the new paranormal pack, which I'm very excited about. Spending time in a haunted house, which should be cool. But yeah, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. I keep forgetting to actually play the game because I'm just sat there listening to the music. So I need to get better at actually walking around and paying attention to the story. But I'm really enjoying the score, especially. It's just stunning. So yeah, that's me.
And on theme as well.
Yeah. I didn't think of that, but well done. Wordplay.
Segway! Andy, tell us what you've been playing.
Me?
You.
I mean, don't feel you have to. But that is the whole point of the segment.
At the moment, I'm playing Hitman 3. I played Hitman 3 this month for review, and I've already finished that, but you can replay Hitman and Hitman 2 through Hitman 3, so I decided to go back to the beginning and play through the whole trilogy in one go.
This is the newer ones, right? Like the ones that have been released the last couple of years?
The 2016 reboot trilogy. I've already done Hitman, and I'm almost through Hitman 2. And
wow.
I've hit a bit of a slog on Hitman 2. Like some of the missions just aren't as good as the others. But I'm motivating myself because I'm going to get to the Hitman 3 missions, which are the best.
What is your most ridiculous / favourite kill so far?
I don't know if it's my favourite because it was a complete disaster. But I did have a mission. Is it set in a winery? Like a vineyard? And I went into the factory area where they were making the wines. I was posing as the guy who runs the winery and taking people on a tour. One of my targets was on the tour, and I was trying to time it so I could push her into the grape crusher. And I was waiting for people to just look away. I was throwing coins and nobody was looking away. I was like, shit, it's not working. They're just staring at me throwing coins at them. So I just decided to shove her in the crusher and then run away and hide in a bush.
That sounds quite successful.
It's not my smoothest move. I did have to replay that mission from the start because I wanted to try and get a good score.
I love the image of you just stood there as 47, like, no, look away, just lobbing coins at people.
Because
and then just pushing someone in a grape crusher and running away.
In the older games, you could just throw a coin and people would look where the coin went. But now if they know you're the one throwing it, they're just going to look at you like you're a dickhead and throw a coin. And it's frustrating.
It's surprising that
the technology has improved amazingly, but it also makes it a lot harder to kill people.
You heard it here first, folks. Technology makes it harder to kill people.
Every serial killer would agree, probably. I also played The Medium. I finished that, though. I'm not in a rush to return to that, even though it's a very good game, because it was very heavy.
Aren't you playing that next, Joe?
Yeah, there you go. Segue.
Yeah.
I have that on my list of things to play, so I will be playing that on stream, on Twitch. Or if it, runs fine on my PC, I just need to double check that. But that is the plan, even though I'm already regretting that.
It's not massively It's like the graphics aren't top tier. I don't think the graphics are as good as Observer, but it's kind of, as far as load times and stuff, it's a bit more technically demanding in that sense.
And if you want to see a grown man scream at his own hat, then I definitely recommend watching Chip on stream.
So this is why it's my biggest worry, is because I don't know if you guys noticed, I'm not that good with horror games.
No, you're massively composed. You're the coolest person I've ever seen playing horror games.
Thank you, Becky. I'm just going to take out what I said before that and just edit you saying that. So yeah, that's coming up. Also playing Phoenix Wright on stream, which is coming to an end because coming to the end of the first game. We'll return to that trilogy at the moment, but I played Phoenix Wright back on the DS back in the day, but I never finished it. But I found it's been a really good game to play on stream because it's very much a community effort. By which I mean I look at the chat and go, "Can you help me? I don't know what I'm doing. Please help me."
Becky, are you taking notes?
Just yelling at Becky to take notes. Yep.
In fairness, Phoenix Wright is also like that. He'll get stuck and then somebody will jump in and save his ass.
That's very true,
it's
actually.
Okay. You are just Phoenix Wright, basically.
Good, thank you. I feel better about that. And then off stream, just for casuals, I've been playing the Ghostbusters remake, the remaster, which was free on Epic Games a couple of weeks ago. I played that when it first came out, and I hadn't realised how much of an old game it is. It came out in 2009 originally. It's not the most polished of remasters. The game still feels like it was a game from 2009, and even then it was a bit clunky. But it's written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, so it feels really authentic. It's got all of the original card. Even Bill Murray turned up for some reason.
He turned up, but he didn't really turn up.
No,
he
Bill
Murrayed his way through it.
He showed it. It's like when he did Garfield and he thought it was going to be done with one of the Coen brothers. It's that sort of thing. Oh, okay, never mind.
So it's fun if you're a Ghostbusters fan. There's lots of references, and it's just fun shooting ghosts. But it's not the best game in the world, so I'm glad I got it for free.
So Chip, you touched on that you're going to be playing The Medium. It may just be and especially if you like me, I can be very much a flight of fancy type person. I am midway through too many games. So in terms of what I'm going to play, and yet I know for a fact that one of the games I'm going to be playing is Scott Pilgrim, that I have bought on both consoles, my PlayStation and my Switch, and I will be getting the limited run games physical edition as well, because it's got one of the fancy ones that comes with all the extra stuff.
Is that just to make sure you've got the game? Like, if you buy it 3 different ways, you've definitely got it then.
I mean, if you own it digitally, they could still take it away from you, but if you've got the physical game, they can't fucking take it away, then can they?
Just visions
Not
of
like
you
last time.
onto it, like, no, it's mine.
It's mine now, it's mine.
Don't you dare take it from me again, Ubisoft, you cunt.
I mean, yeah, 100% that's how I feel. So that's definitely something I'll be playing. But yeah, in terms of anything else, some of it might just be what's on sale. I don't think I'll be playing Control, although that's obviously the PlayStation Plus game next.
Yeah, I think I'm going to wait for that one to be on the next console.
Yeah, I don't think Percival could handle it.
Yeah, get it on the this month PS Plus, because it is it can next gen upgrade.
Oh, okay. Can it? Oh, that's
PlayStation
good.
5. The ultimate version's the only one that'll upgrade, and they made people double dip the game. Like, anyone who owned Control had to buy the ultimate edition to be eligible for the next gen upgrade.
Ugh.
And then they ended up fucking giving it away for free on PS Plus like a couple of months later. So
Suckers.
it's a good way to foster goodwill with your customers.
I guess, Andy, Becky, what are you guys maybe going to be playing?
I've got Yakuza Like a Dragon sitting on my PlayStation 4 that I haven't started yet. I got that at Christmas, and I keep meaning to play it because it's the game where you get to fight people in a nappy.
Gets to.
I'm into
It really took me a while to register what you'd said there.
Yeah, there was a pause where you could hear all of us going, did he just...
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
I have said this to you people before. You chose to mentally block it, apparently.
Yeah, no, I'd forgotten.
Yeah, and all I was going to say is, gets to.
It's my thing.
Get to wear a
get to wear this
nappy.
part. No, you don't wear the nappy. You fight a guy in a nappy. The guy's wearing a nappy.
Still, the point is there, you get to fight a guy in a nappy.
Yeah, he's in the nappy. You do a job for him, and then you have to fight him, apparently.
Get to.
Get to.
Well, you have to then. Fine. Fucking grammar nerds.
It's not the grammar we're worried about.
I think it's the intent.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
worrying.
The enthusiasm with which you will be fighting this guy in a nappy.
I just think I could take him because he's not going to be able to move very well. If it's a full nappy.
Oh.
I feel like he'd have a lot of access to his joints and stuff. He'd be quite free.
Yeah, but he might have a full load.
Becky, what are you going to play?
Segue.
I don't even know anymore.
Not Yakuza.
Not Yakuza, no. I don't want to fight any man in nappies.
It's your loss.
Oh no. So I got halfway through A Plague Tale and stopped it because it was really, really tense and I was getting quite stressed with it, but I really like the story, so I might go back to finish off that once I've exhausted my current Sims play and finished Rapture, because I was really enjoying it, but there's just a lot going on and it's all very nerve-wracking, and I felt really guilty when I lost the little brother that you have to look after. I accidentally sent him over a wall and didn't call him back, so he got caught. It was all very awkward.
No.
Well, that's a nice note to finish.
Yeah, we have talked about child murder a
That's-
Go
lot.
back to the nappy if you want.
No, never. No, I'd rather finish on depressing than horrifying. I feel like me shouting segue is now just Chip's note to
Chip sign to
Cut.
put something else there.
Cut.
Or he might just leave segue, me just go, segue. So, as we come to the end of the inaugural What Up Pod, does that make sense? Grammatically?
Yeah?
Does it? Yeah, thank
If
you.
it doesn't, I'll change it in the edit.
I kind of want you to do that anyway. But just leave me as saying everything except inaugural and put you saying a different word over the top of it. Just the debut episode of One Up Pod. If you got here, amazing.
Yeah, well
Thank
done.
you.
Yeah, if you didn't leave at the nappy bit, Godspeed to you.
You're in.
They'll have left to go and buy the game.
I nearly left at that bit, so yeah, we're going to leave you each with a recommendation, and the idea behind this was that we were going to try and do a game-related recommendation that isn't actually a game, but we'll see how it goes. And I am going to come to Becky first. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So my recommendation this time is related to Bioshock. It is John Shirley's Bioshock Rapture prequel novel, which tells you all about the rise of Rapture and Andrew Ryan's kind of quest to build the city. And it leads right up to the Civil War, where Fontaine is supposedly killed. So it's that history of Rapture. And if you like the game and you really like the world, I really recommend it for diving deeper into the stories that you hear on the audio tapes. And, you know, there's quite a few references in there which are quite cool. There are also some clunky ones, like when two girls are orphaned and they stood there like little sisters. So there are a couple of clunky moments, but for the most part it's a really interesting read.
I'm looking forward to reading that because I accidentally bought it the other day.
Yep.
Yep.
And now I can send Andy this copy guilt-free.
Okay, so Andy, what is your recommendation that isn't the Bioshock novel, because you have neither read it nor do you have it?
Well, that's my idea, fucked. I'm going to recommend the Epic Games Store.
Ooh.
Because it's started with a really bad reputation. Like, people were just really angry with the Epic Games Store for some reason. Just because it wasn't Steam, or because the user interface was crap. But it's got such an amazing, like, free game system. Like, I haven't bought a single game off Epic Games Store, and I've got a huge library on the thing. I've got Jurassic World Evolution, Alien Isolation, Blair Witch, Bus Simulator 18, because, you know, I do love to ride a bus.
There are 17 other bus simulators.
Well, I'm assuming it's the year it came out.
Oh, okay. Oh, we're in my dream of like an extended bus simulator franchise.
It's the Bus Simulator Cinematic Universe. Yeah, and I've got Ghostbusters, the video game that Chip was talking about. Like, there's so many games, Night in the Woods and all sorts. And it's just like, even if you don't ever intend to buy anything off it, because I don't think the deals are that great, unlike Steam, but if you just download it just so you can get the free game of that week. And over Christmas they give away like 10 games over Christmas or something.
Chip, over to you.
I'm going to recommend a Twitch channel. So I'm going to recommend twitch.tv/Robotron, which is John Robertson's YouTube channel. John Robertson does a thing called The Dark Room, which I first saw about 4 years ago this year at the Edinburgh Fringe. And it is a sort of choose your own adventure, like a real in-person choose your own adventure game. He has these amazing like Legion of Doom shoulder pads, and he makes a lot of wrestling references as well, which you'd appreciate, Andy. And he made a joke about Brutus the Barbecue Beefcake when I was at the show, and I was the only one that got it, and we high-fived over it, which was quite nice. But his Twitch channel is great. He's really funny, really sound guy, does a lot of charity streams as well. Doesn't always play video games. He does the Dark Room on Twitch. He does it on Zoom as well, which you can buy tickets to play for, and I would really recommend doing that because the Dark Room is great. The other stuff he does on his channel is really funny as well. And if you're called Darren, you're really going to like it too.
Well, I'm not called Darren.
So, on protest.
But I still recommend it.
I'll try to get past that roadblock.
So it's Robotron with 2 B's on Twitch.
I'm not called Darren either. I'm called Sasha. Or Bash.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Yeah, you too. My recommendation is going to come as no surprise. Certainly not to anyone here. And I'm not recommending my actual playlist, but I do curate a Spotify playlist that is like chill vibes gaming. So my recommendation is definitely going to be a chill vibes gaming. Not actually a soundtrack. I'm going to be recommending Game Chops, who
Oh, I love Game Chops.
yeah, they can be found on Spotify or on YouTube as well. It's just lo-fi renditions of like your favorite video game soundtracks. They've done a lot of Nintendo stuff. You've not heard anything until you've heard like the Me menu. in lo-fi. Oh, it's just beautiful. But yeah, they do a lot of Nintendo stuff, and then things like Undertale. You know, they kind of remix a lot of really famous indie game soundtracks, because I firmly believe that indie games have some of the best soundtracks out there. Yeah, and lo-fi is just, it's just great for when you just need something in the background to keep you focused or to chill to or whatever. So yeah, Game Chops. And I'm sure at some point we'll maybe, particularly if there's links to things we've mentioned, we can maybe like put them in descriptions or something. I don't know. I'll certainly will link them on like Twitter. So follow us on Twitter if you're not already at OneUpPod.
Which is 1UPPOD.
PP.
PP. That's not going to get old.
That is not how we're going to promote it.
No.
1 UPP. Don't want to.
1UPP odd.
Oh God, we're going back to the nappies again.
No, we're
It's
not.
always fun.
Segue. So,
Send us home, Sasha.
thank you so much for listening. If you made it this far, absolutely incredible.
God have mercy on you.
Stop saying that.
No, we want them to come back.
We are at OneUpPod on Twitter. Currently only on Twitter, but head there, as in social media wise. I'm sure Chip will correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to be everywhere you would expect podcasts to be. So subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes.
And like and review
Yes.
if you fancy it. Please.
Yeah.
And send us money.
Only good reviews though. If it's bad reviews, don't.
No, we've got very sensitive.
We'll cry.
When you come to do the reviews, just forget about the nappy bit, please. Just ignore that.
No, focus on the nappies.
No, stop it.
Never.
I have been Bash, and I am at Bash at Demonhead anywhere that there is social media. So, and Twitch as well. Chip.
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at the Chip Thompson, or I'm on Twitch at Chip Thompson's Thumbs.
Andy.
I am at truly_defective basically everywhere except MySpace.
Is anyone on MySpace anymore?
Not even Tom's on MySpace.
And Becky.
You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Becky Grace Lee, which is LEA.
So I guess this will be going out sometime. It should be out. By the time you're listening to this, it should be mid-February. Our next episode will be in mid-March sometime, and we will be discussing Batman Arkham Asylum. And Becky will be hosting,
I will.
Woo!
which hopefully means I'll be talking less.
No, I expect you to do all
Less,
the talking.
less formally. I think that's the thing.
More conversationally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll sound like I'm more from Yorkshire, because sometimes when I'm being formal, I'm not very accenty.
So Toby Carvery.
Toby Carvery.
There we go.
No.
No.
No. No. Yep. Thanks for listening. And Chip, play an outro, maybe. I don't know what you want to do. Get a life and play video games.